you some of that energy. Well, Trump says that God saved him to save America, and his supporters are fully on board with making America holy again. But critics say it's a divisive move that could bulldoze constitutional separation of church and state. And the debate this and much more. Two controversial commentators whose views of this world, and indeed the next, couldn't be more different. Destiny, who outspoken liberal and atheist, who said that religion was trash and a substitute for human thought. Andrew Wilson, a fiercely committed conservative Christian, and founder of the Crucible Debate Channel, who once said this about facing destiny.
You and Destiny on the Whatever podcast together, and watching some older debates with you and him. Love watching you floor them. Keep up the amazing work you do. I doubt it. I doubt there'll ever be another debate between myself and Destiny, and here's why. One, I'm blacklisted. He actually made a blacklist and put me on the blacklist. So even if he says, well, now you're off the blacklist, I see no reason why I should engage with him.
Well, here you are. You're both together again to debate. I'm personally thrilled that the reality has come to this point. So welcome to both of you. I would say let's try and keep things civilized, but that's entirely down to you. It's your debate. I'll be in the middle of it. And hopefully we'll try and get through some complex issues in a constructive and interesting way. So welcome, anyway, to both of you. Let me start. Definitely, this whole idea of Donald Trump, making America holy again. What is your response to that?
I feel like we have a lot of issues right now in this country. I don't know if our president being a spiritual leader is one of them. There have been things that I've said about religion, mainly in regards to philosophy and how you reconcile religion with some philosophical positions. But I do think that right now there's kind of a crisis of meaning in the United States. I think a lot of people, religion can serve as a good foundation of meaning. However, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be the guy to, usher in that era of religiosity in the United States. At least not for any wholly religious person that I know that would, look at a person and think, oh, this is like a spiritual leader that I would want.
Andrew, I would have kind of agreed with that. Having known Trump for a long time and never seen him as a particularly religious guy. I've got to say, since he got shot, he sounds a very different guy about God, about religion. I've spoken to him myself several times. Really once a week after he got shot, where he said, God must have had a plan for me. He must have saved me for a reason. He said, can be no other explanation for why I came so close to being killed, but miraculously escaped. I do think he feels that really quite deeply.
Yeah, there's no atheists in foxholes, as the saying goes, right? So a near-death experience often will bring people closer to the divine. This is a very common thing. Doesn't surprise me that Trump narrowly, very narrowly, for a turn of his head, is still alive. I'm sure that he could definitely attribute that to divine intervention, and I'm sure he could definitely understand why a person would do that. He's right about the fact that we could have a crisis of meaning, but he also is right, and I can concede on this point, that an office of faith with a chick speaking in tongues is cringe, and the most divisive thing on planet Earth is religion. It's the most divisive thing when it comes to, it's even more divisive than relationships, it's more divisive than sex, it's more divisive than anything, is the topic of religion itself. America is already very divided on religiosity with a traditional camp and a non-traditional camp. I don't actually think that this was a great move for him to put in this office of faith. Not because I do like the fact that it does signal that it's perfectly acceptable to rule through faith. I think that that's perfectly acceptable. However, I think strategically it wasn't particularly wise, as it opened up a dialogue now between the traditionalists, who were really Trump's kind of staunch supporters, saying, what the hell are you doing here? We don't want this woman, Paula, in any way, or shape, form, or capacity representing Christianity on the national stage.
Yeah, definitely some people see MAGA Christian nationalism as racist. Time magazine said the toxic blend of ethno-religious identity politics was reflected in the prayers and religious symbols participants carried at the US Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021, and it's become central to the trajectory of the contemporary MAGA Republican Party. Would you agree with that? Here's Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, you ask only one thing. Subscribe on YouTube and follow Here's Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's get straight to the point. Support for today's show comes from a business focused on critical issue prosperity. US national debt is at crisis levels. Inflation has made life more expensive for everybody, and the stock market is precarious, enough to make anyone's financial future feel grim. So what is the solution? Well, a simple one is to opt out of the chaos rating from the Better Business Bureau and glowing reviews you can see for yourself. They offer an incredible range of gold and silver bars and coins. They can be delivered directly to your door, or they'll help you set them up in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. First-class customer service makes the whole process simple, secure, and straightforward. American Heart of Gold is committed to getting the truth out there and giving you peace of mind in uncertain times. And if that wasn't enough, you get up to $15,000 worth of free silver when you make your first purchase and mention my name, Piers. So, make the smart move. Call 866-692-2474 or text Piers, that's P-I-E-R-S, to 65532. That's 866-692-2474 or text Piers to 65532. All the details are in the description. Now on with the show.
I don't think anybody can disagree that there is like a section of MAGA or far-right people that are racist in the United States. But I would say that this is a small section, and I don't think that it's worth focusing on. I think that progressives especially have this tendency to over-exaggerate. I mean, we were all on the internet when people were hunting every single person who made the OK symbol and saying that they were like some kind of closet Nazi or whatever during the Rittenhouse era. So, there are going to be racist people everywhere, but if you want to attack MAGA and you want to do it through the lens of their racist white supremacists or whatever, most people, obviously MAGA is not going to care for a variety of reasons, and they shouldn't. And even most people that are kind of like looking from the center, or even from the center left, are going to be like, well, I don't really know. I feel this way. Like, MAGA kind of seems more colorful than they even have been in the past in terms of conservative movements. You just look online and see that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those types of attacks towards that, ideology, towards that camp.
It's sounding very reasonable today, Destiny. You're right.
Well, I'm a very reasonable person.
Well, that is, he is right. There are better avenues for which to attack the movement that would actually be more effective for progressives. Them utilizing this type of attack actually didn't do this very much in the way it could in this last election cycle. And you saw this from large progressive commentators, and this is all they did. Son Piper, among many others, in the political commentary world, Bosch, other guys like this, they hyper-focus on the racial dynamic issues, and Destiny's right. MAGA doesn't care, and most of the supporters of Trump don't care, and most Republicans at this point don't care because it's so overused that essentially if you overuse a phrase like this or these kinds of talking points too much, their effectiveness just basically gets destroyed.
So let's move from making America holy again to making America healthy again. Destiny is a divisive character. I've got to say about what they've been doing. I've heard all the stuff about it. The first time I interviewed him, I was quite combative with him. And I was pretty charmed by him and quite impressed by him, I've got to say. And I've interviewed him 4 or 5 times since, and I really don't think we've got the devil here at the head of the house. You've got a guy who has a very curious mind, constantly asking questions, which probably need to be asked about the nation's health. He's also a fine figure of a guy for 70 who seems to practice what he preaches. Are you in favor or against him?
Absolutely against him. I think that there's this talking strategy that people like RFK do that drives me insane, and apparently works for people like you, where somebody will say something that sounds on its face reasonable, but if you think about it for like 2 seconds, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like the idea of well, we need to be examining the safety of these pharmaceuticals. Like, we need to look at the data. And it's like, well, yeah, of course. How do you think these things get passed? Like, we need to know what the research is for. Like, people like RFK will just say these things that sound good. Like, shouldn't we be doing research on long-term outcomes of, XYZ drugs? And it's like, yeah, we should be. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, we do that. Of course we do. The FDA has a pretty good track record, all considered.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I think that
Top Sport Bet, Sports and Casino. Download now.
Kennedy's as fine a choice as anybody. It's not like these positions have been filled by people in the past who are incredible at them, not even on the progressive side, often moving into trans issues, trans healthcare, which was a big loser for progressives. I think ultimately, I don't see any problem with this guy getting in there. I don't think he's going to do anything harmful, and I don't really see any problem with him moving into these various agencies and trying to do various reforms. I don't even actually see why progressives would be upset by that. So Destiny might say, well, there's things that he says that are already being done, so he's going to go in and be somewhat redundant. But It's like you already like those systems, and he's already going into the systems. I don't even see why that would be a problem.
Right, and definitely what I would say is that always strikes me, if you ever see pictures from, say, Times Square or Trafalgar Square in London or Sydney or whatever it may be from the 20s, right? What's the one thing we all notice immediately if you think about it? There's no fat people. Well, there's no fat people. Right? They just didn't seem to exist. Literally, they barely existed because people were far more mobile. They had far better diets to a large degree, and none of the processed crap had come into to ruin their lives. None of the sort of television, internet stuff that makes people sit around all day. So very different way of living, and it really strikes me. When you look at those pictures today to then, the world, particularly in the sort of developed world, like America, like large swathes of Europe, we've just got very fat and unhealthy. And if all that he achieves in his term as health secretary is getting Americans to really think about that more, wouldn't that be a good thing?
I feel like he can luck his way into a couple of okay positions, but the problem's going to be what the focus is. And the problem is that the focus, in some ways, I think is kind of contrary to whatever MAGA believes in, although it's hard to know at any point in time what MAGA believes in. But for instance, I think that probably the number one thing that you could do to increase the overall health of Americans would be to bring down our average weight. And the best way to do that probably would be to find ways to restrict the ultra-processed foods, the stuff that's like super high in sugar, whether that's through additional labeling or whether that's through taxes on ultra-processed food or sugar. Either of those, I think, would be tremendously in a good direction. However, both of those things are what? An increase in taxes and an increase in bureaucracy. I don't know if MAGA is in favor of either of those things. If that was the sole focus of RFK, I would be more okay with it. But it's like this obsession with like the fluoride in the water and red dye number 3 and the heavy metal microplastics in our wall sacks and everything else. And these things are very like, they're worth looking at, but they're on the peripheral, they're on the edge.
What if he's right? I mean, the reason I say what he's right is, I remember through COVID, for example, all sorts of definitive statements from doctors and scientists, which often turned out to be complete baloney. What if he's actually right about stuff?
Most of the there were no mass deaths, there were no mass injuries, vaccine injuries, there were no microchips planted in us, there were no claim vaccine passports, there still was an increase for the disclosure of all others in the country. But in some ways, I'm right. I'm saying that it might be the case that microplastics or red dye or whatever, like 50 or 50% of those movies, but these are like 2%, 3% of food, like 80% of food. I think only people really care about something like that would be so much more impactful. And also, if we do that now, it's going to be the opposite. We're going to make the population aware, we have a taxing certain things that are target certain types of foods in order to change people's food consumption habits.
So I think it's a fine line, isn't it, between being relentlessly critical of health institutions and science and so on, and getting to a place where, if you're not careful, public confidence in all of those bodies collapse. And then you start to have serious health effects.
Yeah, it's true.
About Japan, where the Japanese don't have the same obesity that we have here. The gal who was there doing the article made a great point. She said she thought the kids there were trolling when their favorite food was broccoli, celery, things like this. But when it was investigated, it turns out they were taught that those are the foods to eat and nothing else is eating. So in other words, there's national propaganda around the idea of health and things like this. Instead of moving towards restrictions like Destiny's proposing, I would move more towards national propaganda. But progressives are very wary about moving towards propaganda. I don't know why. Even though, now, propaganda itself has no connotation. I'm just saying the word propaganda, people are doing it things, right? Like a national campaign for something like this could be very effective in the same way they do it there. What's not effective is restrictions. That doesn't seem very much. At least it has not so far.
I also think parental responsibility has got to be massively reinforced, just generally, right? It's all very well
Well, that would be part of the national campaign, though. In order to do that,
No, I actually, like when I see some of the food that parents give their kids, not just Americans, they have it in the UK as well, got massive obesity content. And it's like, where's the parental responsibility to stop shoving horrible?
Yeah, but then we have to look at other things progressives don't want to look at, like the alternative family unit, single motherhood, the intact family, things like this, which all feed into the idea of how kids are even nourished at home. Like, these are all interconnected things, and they sound so fun that if you're running a national campaign, you say, father should stay in the home, that's good for the family, that's good for the kids' nourishment, things like this, you know what I mean? Suddenly, that's why they tend to steer away from that type of public discourse, at least at the governmental level, even though for the health of the nation, probably would be quite good.
But definitely, your sheer progressiveness is going to stop any solution being achieved.
I'm a deeply unpopular person with a variety of people I've known about talking about attacking a particular part from a multitude of angles. I think that you can talk about what goes on in the household as well. However, I think that the culture, writ large and what's available is also a really challenging thing to deal with. If you've had a kid and that kid has gone to school, the thing that makes that kid want something more than anything else isn't just something being available. It isn't just someone on the internet offering it. It's when other classmates have that thing. As soon as you start hearing, hey, Bob or Jane, their parents let them do that, or they have this thing at school, well, now all of a sudden you're competing against all of the other kids in class, and then these types of pressures when your kid is outside your supervision are almost impossible to overcome. One thing that is kind of irritating, I guess, is I feel like there was a big push to have kids eating healthier at schools a while ago, but everybody made fun of her for it. It was led by Michelle Obama when it came to making healthier foods.
Yeah, she was
schools
right.
and schools.
I agree.
Yeah, and it seems like Republicans lit her up like crazy for that. And I don't know, I think that, we can talk about healthier food in the household, we can talk about healthier food at schools. Like, I think that everybody should be on board with it because things like obesity, being overweight, is one of the worst things that you can do for your health.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was out in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a national campaign to get people out doing exercise 3 times a week. And they've got a very young population, like 70% are under 35. It's been very popular, and as a result, more and more young people in Saudi are playing sport, for example, not ever playing before. And
We
that is
also have
actually
physical education standards here. We have physical education standards
Right.
set down by the government here for years, and those were rolled back due to the idea of fat shaming, due to the idea of my kids can't do this.
which is all bullshit.
et cetera, et
I
cetera.
agree.
It's all bullshit. And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about national campaigns for this. We can bring in exercise standards, we can bring enforcement mechanisms for those standards.
Every connection counts. That's why Ireland can count on our network.
It's pronounced Friday for a reason. To see the beauty in everything is life's greatest adventure. It's the excitement of the unknown and the comfort of the familiar. It's feeling free or escaping to just be. Sharing a moment without a care in the universe. Spices your treats.
Starting at a young age, Destiny makes a good point. It is valid that you're in school, you're a kid, and the other kids have donuts. You're probably going to want a donut. You
Yeah.
want to eat your coffee, right? But there's an aspect of social shame that happens with patriotism and aspects of social campaigns and culture that can be actually done from the top down, like we've seen in other nations, including what you're talking about right now. Just something as basic as, okay, physical education, now we're going to actually start taking it seriously. There's 2 hours of it a day instead of just the 30 or 40 minutes of you throw dodgeball in
Yeah.
together, right? I think that these are very valid things that we should look at.
Yeah, I agree. Let's turn to feminism. So Donald Trump has been lauded as the great new feminist of the United States. This comes announced from his executive order banning trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look at it. Surrounded by grateful women and girls, as he
If you like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay.
Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we're in big trouble. I think I've never seen a finer feminist, Destiny.
I mean, this is like classic Republicans. Like Donald Trump tweets out at 4 a.m. that he's going to make the sun shine, and then at 6 a.m. the sun comes out and everybody worships him for it. I'm pretty sure, didn't the NCAA already roll back a lot of the trans participation in sports in the United States? And I feel like we've already seen like the Olympic make moves against it. Like we've already seen like in your country, in the United States, across the world, people have kind of like rolled back a little bit on a lot of the trans youth, especially medications.
Yeah, I think you said the phrase there. When you say it's been a little bit, and it's been piecemeal, sport by sport, and age groups and so on. What Trump has done with one sweep of his pen is say no more of it at all. Right? There will be no more trans athletes in women's sport. Period. Now, I personally think this is absolutely the right thing to do. I think it's become the new doping, where people who have an unfair advantage have been, beating women, removing women from women's teams in, say, the Olympics and so on, actually beating up women, as we saw in the Paris Olympics, where somebody reportedly banned from the World Championships with male chromosomes literally beat up one female opponent so badly she quit after 40 seconds in the ring. So I do think this is a really important thing. Do you agree with it?
I don't think this is a very important thing. I don't even know if he can enforce this through executive order. Like, I don't know if there's going to be like some kind of Title IX challenge or whatever. I don't know what the courts are doing with this right now. It's just, I just don't think this is very relevant in the overall scheme of U.S. world politics right now. I mean, people don't want women competing with trans women, especially at the college level beyond. I don't really have a problem with that. I don't really have a problem with that. I don't know if these two groups of people should be competing with each other. This is like a blip on the grand scale of things, I think.
You know what's interesting, Andrew? I've talked to quite a few on the left since they moved from the position before the election. I'm not saying Destiny as well, I can't remember, and you can clarify you want Destiny, but a lot of them are like, absolutely, trans women should be allowed to compete in women's sport. Blah, 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 and Biden and Kamala Harris supported this with actual policies endorsing it. You know what, nobody cares. It's a thing, I don't have a view. And I think it's because, to their shock and horror, the single most effective political ad of modern times turned out to be that trans ad that Trump did, ending with Kamala's for they them, Donald Trump's for you, but also including this issue of women's sports and women's safety and the issue of putting, as we had in England, in Scotland actually, a male rapist who suddenly identified as a woman was put in a women's prison. It cost the First Minister of Scotland their job. And I think it's a big issue, far bigger than Democrats want to admit. And it's interesting, the narrative has changed from we're all in favour to actually it's just a small thing we don't care about.
Yeah, this has been a major setback for LGBTQ period. The trans issue has been the entry gateway for the one of the most brutal attacks against the left in modern times. And all you really have to do is just ask basic logistical questions like, okay, which prisons do they go to? You know what I mean? We were past bathrooms. We were into prisons, and can children get gender reassignment surgery, things like this. This has always been a very, very unpopular position for leftists, but they can't really back away from it because the T got attached to the LGBT, right? So they can never really back away from it. They've had to kind of defend it tooth and nail. To Destiny's credit, he's always had a more nuanced position on this. I don't care, at least to my knowledge. But ultimately, this is not popular for them. It's never been popular for them. When you talk about what Trump is doing with the gender binary, I somewhat disagree. Not that the thing I agree with is that he proposed at a government top-down level. The United States only recognizes two genders. Now he means sexes, male and female, right? That's what he's alluding to there. But I do think it actually was very punishing for feminists to have fought all those years for their sports team and then have men just go and kick the holy shit out of them, right? So that actually mobilized, Well, but I mean, it mobilized a lot of those feminists to move away from the left because they were like, wait a second, this actually wasn't the liberation we signed up for, right? We spent all this time fighting for this, and now you can just basically put on a wig and go break all of our records. I mean, it's just a huge loser for the left. And
I agree. Let's see, I want to read you a quote from Andrew Wilson, he posted this week. The most disappointing thing about feminists is how made out of glass they are. With the slightest pushback, they break. They demand equality until you talk to them like you would a man. It's actually comical. Would you concur with him?
I mean, that's everybody in politics. I mean, everybody's a snowflake depending on what the issue you're talking about is. I don't think that it's ever been a huge issue on most of the left when it comes to trans stuff. I think there's a vocal minority on Twitter and in colleges that scream about it. I think it seems like it's a huge issue because Republicans wanted it to be a huge issue. Even that commercial we were talking about was quoting something that Kamala said in 2019. So it seemed like some huge, ever-present issue. But I don't know. I guess I'm looking more towards like domestic policy, like things related to immigration or healthcare or what's happening right now in our executive branch or foreign policy. Like I thought the war in Ukraine was supposed to end on day one. I didn't know that we were signing up to be owners of Greenland and the Gaza Strip and the Panama Canal. These things I think are more important, at least to me, but I don't know, maybe some people are really powered by what Republicans think.
I got a 13-year-old daughter. I got to say, if I was living in America, she was born there actually, but if I was living in America with a 13-year-old daughter who likes sport, I would be very exercised about this. In particular, she has to share changing rooms with biological men who said, I'm now a woman.
Yeah, I think I'd be more worried about my daughter like dying in Texas, like trying to get a medical procedure done because I'm pretty sure there have been 3 deaths now so far in Texas of young women that are pregnant that can't have medical procedures done because the doctors have to be so careful when they're doing it that they can't accidentally abort a fetus because then they'll be held liable for crimes. So I think these are things I'd be worried about more than trans athletes, which are
more than a woman potentially being killed in a boxing ring by a trans athlete.
How many times has this happened?
Well, it hasn't yet, but it will do.
Exactly. But it already has happened with the abortion. So that's what I'm more worried about.
Yeah, but children's gender reassignment surgery, that is something which has been on the table for a long time. That's one. And two, you're talking about this issue, it's kind of revisionist history, right? Now suddenly the Democrats don't care, right? Oh, it was always a vocal minority. No, it really wasn't. These were very, very public fights going on at the national level. And the reason is because this was a moral question. We're talking about a moral question from the viewpoint of the Christian right, which most right-wingers are Christians. You're actually assaulting their religion. You're assaulting their idea of what moral grounding even is. So to them, it's a huge deal. For Destiny, who has a completely different moral prism, it's really not a big deal, right? He doesn't really care about it. It's not that important. But to the average person, at least to the average right-wing conservative who's a Christian, it's a huge deal. The assault of the moral foundation is something they're going to take issue with. It's going to be one of their top priorities. So and to say that Democrats were not fighting tooth and nail on behalf of trans inclusiveness, including in sports and everything, it's just insane division.
Yeah, they absolutely were. I mean, look at someone like J.K. Rowling, who got absolutely, destroyed by the woke brigade for standing up for women's rights, for fairness and equality. Now everyone lauds her for heroic stance, but at the time, most women put their head understandably, put their head on the vicious parapet and didn't want to engage, and that left people like her out on their own, getting completely killed by people who profess to be the Be Kind lobby. And talking of which, I want to play you this, Jessica, because it really annoyed me. Not because it's a comedian making a joke, that's absolutely fine, nor that I want her banned or cancelled or any of those things. Just about the blatant hypocrisy of what we're about to hear. This is Chelsea Handler talking about Melania Trump.
I am your DEI host, Chelsea Handler. It was a huge year for biopics, a complete unknown about Bob Dylan, Maria Callas, and Honora about Melania Trump.
And Destiny, what she's doing there is calling the First Lady a hooker, okay? She's perfectly entitled to say that. But she would never have done that joke, and nor would any comedian have ever done that joke about a Democrat First Lady at an award ceremony. Ever. So my question is, are the Democrats, again, is it one rule for them do the Republicans do other stuff. I know they do. And it just seems to me she would never have done that. And nor would any comedian if it was a Democrat, personally.
I so don't care. I mean, like, what is the question? Was the joke too mean, or would she not have done it towards the Democrat? She probably would have done it towards the Democrat because those types of people will tend to lean left, would be my guess, right? The same way that if it was any right-leaning comedians, they're probably not going to go super hard on anybody on the right. I mean, that's pretty obvious. You're asking if it's a mean joke. I mean, yeah, it's a mean joke, but lots of people call mean jokes. I don't know what kind of.
No, it's not about the mean joke. Well, I think it's not really a joke. It's just calling the first lady a hooker is vile.
I hear a ton of conservatives now say that Michelle Obama and the wife of the French Macron are trans. Like, I'm pretty sure that's Candace Owens. She said I would stake my entire career on Macron's wife being trans.
That's
I
not a ton of
don't know. Just
conservatives.
sure.
That's not a ton of
Actually,
conservatives.
jokes about that Michelle Obama stuff being trans, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, the Michelle Obama dick jokes are very old and have been going on for a long time, right? I've seen those, you've seen those, and some of them are kind of funny. But the point is that with Chelsea Handler here, this is one of the most promiscuous women in Hollywood calling someone else a hooker. Is,
Right.
by the way, hilarious. And also, you're talking about an entire party who is pro-sex worker, pro-prostitution, pro-OnlyFans, does everything it can possibly do in order to enable those things. And then at the same time, they're like, oh, I can't believe the first lady's a hooker. It's like, if it was anybody else who wasn't a Republican, they would probably glorify it. They'd be like, finally, our first prostitute first lady. Like, I don't even understand why, the depths of the hypocrisy here is actually kind of outrageous, right?
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think the joke has more to do with pointing out, I think, the hypocrisy on the other side. For instance, if you make a joke about, like, I don't know if we're allowed, like for Stephen Carter being gay, that's a common joke that people on the left make. I don't think the joke is, haha, you're gay, so that's bad. I think the joke is more, you hate this thing and you are this thing, which my guess is going to be, I didn't see her whole performance, I don't know the movie where she was making, but probably the joke is that you guys hate prostitutes, you are a prostitute. You hate gay people, you are gay.
No, that wasn't the joke. That wasn't the joke. She was just basically she's calling Melania Trump a hooker because she wants to imply she's actually a hooker. And I think that the point I'm making is not that she's not entitled to do I think it was a crap joke. Of course she's a comedian. It's the fact that you would never ever see at an award ceremony in America, I can ever remember, any comedian, right or left, make that kind of remark about a Democrat first lady, a current first lady, from a stage televised at an award show. That's the distinction.
I haven't seen every award show, but like, didn't Stephen Fry do a couple of really brutal award shows where he was like throwing it out to almost everybody? Am I making this up, dude?
Well, he's English.
Okay. Alright.
Let's move on.
No,
I just don't think any of them have ever called a first lady a hooker. It just seems to me, it's all about crossing a line in comedy and all that. If you did that in the comedy store, you can do what you like. If you're on Twitter or X now, if you want to do things, okay, fine. I'm not going to say you should be
Well, I thought we learned when that guy made the island of floating trash Puerto Rico joke. I thought we learned there were no lines anymore. Why are we crying about her making this joke?
Well, no, because the left went completely nuts. They thought you did cross the line.
Well, now we've learned.
They did go crazy about that.
Negative joke about anything, I guess, right? We're all on that.
Well, you should have joke about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but we
Because-
can also joke about her being, one of the most promiscuous women in Hollywood, and that she's speaking out of both sides of her mouth here because she's been a big time supporter of sex workers, and now suddenly
I think that's a really good point.
she's a hooker. It's like, what are you talking about?
It's a very good point that she used it as a slur, having professed to be the complete opposite about sex work. It's a very good point. Talking of stinking hypocrites and vile people, let's come to Kanye West. It started the week parading his wife, Bianca Censori, naked on the Grammys red carpet. Looking at these images now, it was a deliberate derobing, whatever. I mean, obviously any woman can do that. I thought it was all a bit cheap and embarrassing and pathetic, and I certainly wouldn't want to be doing that with my wife on a red carpet. What was far more serious to me was what then followed, which was literally just a bombardment of horrifically anti-Semitic, racist comments, and then some pornography that he began flying out. One of his posts, something to do like the Pharaohs, make your Jews work for you and watch them as close as you can and whip your Jews. What was interesting to me Elon Musk, I messaged him directly on X publicly and said, you know, keep letting this guy do it. He's breaking every single rule that X has about this kind of stuff. So the normal rules weren't applying to him. And he was doing it to 32 million people. So the free speech argument was one thing. Actually, the X in-house rule book is another one that wasn't being applied. So there should be one rule for him, one rule for everybody else. But secondly, it was clearly, in my opinion, when you start talking about making Jews your slaves and whip them, you are actually now committing a crime, inciting actual violence against a group of people. That is a crime. It's not protected by the First Amendment. But what was interesting was Elon Musk only intervened and shut down the account for the NSFW pornography, which was completely legal. So, you know, inciting people to violence against Jewish people was not considered to cross a line, but actually posting legal pornography was. I thought that was an interesting contradiction. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like Kanye West to me is pretty sad because I feel like it's pretty obvious he has mental issues relating to what is he bipolar or whatever. So I don't know if he has these manic phases where he just starts going crazy, and I don't know if he either surrounds himself with yes men and fires everybody else, or if there's just a bunch of people like the Candaces of the world who are just around him to take advantage of him. But I mean, clearly he has these mentally unhinged moments. I'm sure him being as famous and as wealthy and as successful as he is probably doesn't help with that mania. As for rule enforcement on X, I mean, there's a million things that can be said about that. People have had a lot of complaints about Elon coming on. Obviously, a lot of people from the left feel like the platform has gotten a lot more hateful. A lot of people have said the platform's gotten a lot more scammy. There's a lot more bot activity and everything. Some people on the right, over the H-1B fiasco, were upset that Elon's going to be banning people who previously would have been okay because of their political / racial stances, I guess, or whatever. So, yeah, it seems like Elon's been having a little bit of trouble getting a handle on how he exactly wants to present X's moderation to the world.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I interviewed Kanye West a year and a half ago. He denied having any mental illness, certainly denied having any treatment for any mental illness. And a lot of Jewish people in particular think it's just an excuse, that he just actually is a massive attention seeker. It was the Grammys. He's no longer a kind of, you know, superstar rapper in people's eyes. He's become this pretty unpleasant troll. And that he was doing all this to suck attention away from the Super Bowls and the Grammys and so on. What do you think? Where's the truth about Kanye West here?
I mean, he's done this before. I mean, he had a mean presidential campaign, right?
Yeah.
Total mean, ultimately. But yeah, some people took it seriously. Most people mainstream most certainly did not take it seriously. And yes, it's attention-seeking behavior. Stripping. First of all, this is not the first time this has happened. Remember that his wife also was in controversy because she had a cross on her buttocks, you know, her naked buttocks, and then now she is at the Grammys, and what happens? He literally takes her clothes off, disrobes her, humiliating, by the way, absolutely humiliating. I felt ashamed on her behalf. I hate saying that, right? But I just couldn't believe it, right? The disrespect towards your wife, that's to me in many ways unconscionable. When it comes to the X thing, though, the freedom of speech, what we're talking about here is this line of freedom of speech, which you're right, Elon Musk has not figured this out yet because it's not really possible to figure out. Is it okay, and this is what Kanye West is trying to say, is it okay to post as much you know, swastikas and I Heart Hitlers and, you know, everything else on this as I want, and if it's not, why isn't it? Why can't I?
I agree.
I thought this was about freedom of speech.
He was
pushing the number, and that drives attention to that account. And in many ways, it could have been a tactical move by Musk to say, well, you know, maybe taking that down is not going to look good on me. And so when the time came and porn came up, he pushed it a little further, right? Okay, they're not banning my account. He's actually letting this go. How do we push the number a little bit further? Then he moves over to, okay, let's post hardcore porn. And then finally Elon Musk says, okay, enough. You know, I tried to do the best I can. So he's trying to find it. Musk is trying to find this line. Kanye is purposely pushing the line so that he can test the limits of Musk and this free speech on X and try to point out hypocrisy, this kind of thing. But yes, I agree it's for attention in a big way. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, even his supporters.
Yeah. Let's turn to the Trump-Elon Oval Office presser. We've got a son of this.
So look, things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's gonna bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes. We will act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $15 million from Congress anywhere. Frankly, I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of funds.
Destiny, what do you make of that? Obviously, it's very unusual. You've got the richest man in America standing next to the President of the United States in the Oval Office by the Resolute desk. He's got his kid with him who's picking his nose. It's all a bit random and weird and surreal. However, I did watch it all, and I kept thinking to myself, if I was an average American watching this, hearing what Elon Musk is doing to federal overspending, I'd be cheering him on. I'd be all in favor of this.
Yeah, unfortunately, the average American, I guess, or the average person has no idea how government works or functions, and I guess weird and surreal is just the way to describe now, or illegal, I guess, is the way to describe that this administration has decided to address programs that they don't like. If you want to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse, I don't think anybody would necessarily have a problem with it, but they keep saying waste, fraud, and abuse, and what they mean is programs that I don't like, and they've already taken several, almost certainly illegal actions in trying to basically unilaterally dismantle organizations like USAID that have been independently authorized by Congress that the president doesn't have the ability to do, to dismantle unilaterally, and now you've seen TROs coming out from the judiciary that's telling him, hey, you have to stop. There was the federal spending freeze that not only was a TRO issued telling him that you have to stop freezing these funds, now another judge has said you are violating the TRO, you need to stop this immediately. So I guess if you don't care about the legality or the process and procedure or anything having to do with the structure of government, I guess it's a cool thing, but if you care about like following the law or the rules or maintaining your government, then it would probably be a horrific thing. But
Andrew?
Yeah, you got this idea. I've heard Destiny kind of talk about this before. And when he's saying, okay, these are illegal actions, and possibly the court's not going to be able to catch up with these illegal actions, and so Trump is just going to basically continue with what he's considering to be illegal actions. Thing is like people forget about things like jury nullification, or like the idea that you can have laws, and even if you're the enforcer of the laws, in this case the executive branch, you don't actually have to enforce these things. There's no, like you're put there for a reason, just like a jury can nullify a law by saying, even though the law says you're guilty, I can still come back with a not guilty verdict. What's happening here is we don't even know what the waste, fraud, and abuse is. And so there's an audit going on, and this is exactly what Musk is doing. They're trying to audit this and get it in front of the attention of the American people to say, look, we don't want condoms for the Taliban. That was $15 million. Promotion of atheism in Nepal for $500,000. French LGBTQ programs in West and Central Africa for $1 million, right? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. $200 million 20 days in. I think that the American people do deserve to know that, and I don't think that they would, that this would be front and center or a thing we would be focusing on absent this audit. And I think that more of these government agencies should be audited. Now, Destiny can he can say, well, technically, due to the rule of law, we have judges who are making these impositions and this and that. It's like, yeah, that's fine, but that's all part of the process too. It's all part of the process of law. The process of law is playing out exactly like it should. Judges are supposed to create interruptions if something illegal is going on, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing wrong, though, with auditing these places, and for the spirit of transparency, I think that leftists are just pissed for no good reason. Like they go, oh, Musk is collecting all these people's information. It's like, unelected officials at the DMV are collecting my information. The unelected officials at the Social Security office are collecting my information. Like, so many government offices collect my information by people who I definitely didn't elect, and neither did Destiny. They're totally fine with that, but for some reason with these guys, no, that's too much.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, the reason,
That's a good point.
The reason why is because these things have been authorized by law. There's a process and procedure there. The Social Security Administration was created by Congress. There's a process and procedure by which they collect data, and they have a process and procedure by which they store data. Who's allowed to access it? Elon Musk is definitionally an unelected bureaucrat who is now part of a shadow government who is going from agency to agency, cutting whatever he decides is necessary. In terms of there being transparency, all of this stuff is already publicly available. Well, they've literally shuttered the USAID offices. What do you mean? They literally shuttered them from the Treasury.
Yeah.
Shuttered them, and they shuttered them, and then they tried to get a mass recall, saying all the employees needed to come home, which was stopped by a TRO, by a judge. And now a lot of these programs, there's just recently a report by the head of the Treasury guy, who now is fired, who was saying that there's a whole bunch of food and stuff that we ship to other countries. It's just going to spoil Democrats that authorize these offices and agencies. If you want to remove all of these things, that's fine. If you want $500,000 being spent for trans ballets in Nepal for atheists or whatever, that's fine. If you don't want it, then Congress has to defund it. That's the way this process works. It's not up to the president unilaterally to decide what he likes or doesn't like. It's already
Well,
been
actually,
decided
hang on.
by Congress.
Well, hang on.
It's not up to you.
That's actually, I was going to say that that's not actually correct. He's entitled to do this, and then there
He's
can be legal.
absolutely not.
Well, hang on. Then there can be legal challenges, and Trump made it clear in the Oval Office yesterday he would accept what a judge said. Now, by contrast, I remember Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez when it came to the Texas ruling in a court by a judge about abortion medication, for example. She said that the Democrats should not accept what that judge had ruled. Right? So why is it one rule? Well, why is it one rule for Democrats that they can ignore a judge's order with impunity? But when President Trump said, if you want to challenge this, no problem, I would accept the ruling of the judge. Isn't that democracy?
What years was AOC the president of the United States?
What difference does that make?
What does that do with anything?
Because she's not in a position to do these things. She can give you advice on it. If you want me to ask myself, like,
She's an elected lawmaker who doesn't want to obey the rules.
A lawmaker, she's in a different branch of government. She's part of the legislature. We're not talking about the legislature. We're not talking about a written lawmaker right now. We're talking about the president of the United States doing things to intentionally contravene. You can't just say you can break the law.
President Biden did the same by the student loans.
No, he absolutely did. When the Supreme Court shut him down in one thing, then he took a different avenue. It was not the same. President Biden did not ignore temporary restraining orders when it wasn't issuing TROs to stop what he was doing with the loan forgiveness. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah,
To say that, this is not the same. It's not the same process. It's not the same stuff. Vance and other people have said over and over. I'm so curious. Vance and others have made it clear over and over again. They quoted the Andrew Jackson quote, and they said, well, we should just resist the judiciary. It is not part of law and order. It's not part of checks and balances for the executive to say, well, I don't care what a judge says, we'll just do whatever, which is what they're currently doing. And a judge has already said they've done with the TRO that was placed on them, having to do with freezing federal funding. So they've already broken with what the judges are telling them to some extent. And at the end of the day, there's no way to check and balance the executive if they're just going to do what they want to do. You have no checks and balances there. Are men in robes and lawmakers going to walk down and fight with the U.S. Marshals and the FBI? Like, is that going to happen?
I know.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's an issue. What you have is an issue of authority. So Trump he's trying to expand the limits of his office as fast as possible, and I understand why. Last time he was there, they were trying to impeach him from basically day one, made up this phony Russian collusion nonsense. He comes in now, he has nothing to lose. He's going to expand his office as quickly as possible, try to move things as quickly as he possibly can, and most importantly, he doesn't trust the judicial branch. That's what he said himself in his various speeches. I don't trust them to give fair rulings. I don't trust that they're actually there in respect to actual law. He doesn't actually even believe that. So what he's doing is expanding. Hang on, my turn. So he's expanding it as quickly as he possibly can. But he did say that he would abide by the rulings of these judges. He just recently said this, and we don't know what's gonna come of that. Right now, he's expanding this office to try to figure out these audits, this type of thing. I don't see what he's actually done wrong. You're already panicking, but we haven't really had a chance to see what happens if he abides by these rulings, doesn't abide by these rulings.
Right.
We don't really know that yet.
Right.
The DOJ itself is probably a wholly illegal agency. I don't think that DOJ even exists. I don't think they have the capacity to even do what Trump wants them to do. Number one. Number two, bringing up the Russian collusion stuff is funny when the entire foundation for Hunter Biden and Burisma was entirely fabricated. That person's already been convicted by the FBI for lying about the origination for that. And three, Donald Trump was already found about people who were working with him, collude with Russia. Roger Stone did it, but he was pardoned by Donald Trump. The same way Donald Trump pardoned all 1,600 J6 offenders.
Same way that Biden just
people that were
that Biden that's the whole crime family, right? Pardons the whole crime family. And that's why, yeah.
How many
presidents? Pardons Fauci.
Republicans had like 8
Well, how do we
years
ever know they're all
and
pardoned?
found nothing. How do you know 8 years to investigate it? What do you mean? How many special
I don't know.
counsels?
How many we have 8 years to
They
investigate?
have nothing.
How did we have 8 years to
Investigate him
investigate?
from as soon as Biden was in office. They've been investigating this guy, Hunter Biden, over and over and over and over and over again. They found nothing.
Betway's countdown to Cheltenham is off. And over €100 in free bets when you sign up to Betway. 18 plus T's and C's apply. That's the responsible way.
That's why they're talking about the other day where for Joe Biden, they have nothing ever. They better
because I just want to make sure that we
Yes,
can
right.
get back to the actual point.
Yesterday, if none of them have committed crimes, why do they all need preemptive pardon?
Yeah, they all need
Because
parties.
Trump has shown over and over again that he doesn't need crimes to start chasing down people, and the Republicans have no problem hunting people down to try to go on
And
fishing.
the Democrats haven't been doing that for the last year.
Give me one example.
Stormy bloody Daniels.
Did
Honestly,
he break the law? Did he break the law?
what
So
a
that
farce
was
of
the
a
federal
case.
government. That was the same.
Are you
Okay, so
honestly
break
happy
the law.
that
That's fine.
the
You don't
only
like the law.
time
You
an
don't like the
American,
law.
hang on, the
You
only
don't
time an
like the law.
American
You just don't
president,
like the law. No, I don't care.
the
I don't
only
care. You
time
don't
an
like the law.
American
Just say
president was
that.
ever
So I
dragged
don't
for a
like the
criminal
law.
court was over a one-night stand with a porn star 20 years ago. Utterly
It
preposterous.
wasn't over a one-night stand. It was over misappropriating
Oh,
campaign
come
funds
on,
and then creating a
Destiny.
paper trail. If you don't like the law, that's
You've
fine.
had presidents like Obama waging illegal drug programs, killing thousands of innocent people. Why is he not in a criminal
Illegal as
court?
for who? Illegal as for who? Which crimes? What are we talking about?
You don't think
You
illegal
can't
drug
just say
programs
illegal
are
because
criminal?
it sounds. Well, illegal as for who?
Oh, you think they're
You just say
lawful?
illegal because it sounds bad. Apparently so.
What
Yeah.
about the illegal invasion of Iraq by George Bush?
For which? What are we talking about for illegal invasion? Illegal
I'm
as
talking
for
about crimes.
Which crime? Which crime? What crime?
I'm
You're
making
talking about?
crime
You're
of being a
saying
porn star.
misappropriating campaign funds.
I'm making the point. I'm making the point. The only time an American president has ever been dragged through a criminal court was not over running illegal drone programs or illegally invading sovereign countries. It was over an alleged one-night stand with a porn star.
Yeah, these are-
It involved a bit of paper shuffling. It was completely ridiculous.
You have strong feelings about what you think should be a crime or not. You don't care about the law. There's no legal argument behind that. And you just think it's a crime because it's bad. You don't like it, or you think it's a crime because it's not a crime because you think it's a big deal. That's fine. But I mean, like, if you want to have
Yeah,
the
if
legal
that's the logic
argument,
for you,
if
as
you
long
want to
as
talk
the
about
bad things are done via the process of law, that's fine. But if you do good things after the process of law, that's bad. What are you talking about,
Yeah,
man?
I know. Here's my chain of logic. Here's my fault. If you are a criminal, it's because you've broken a law. Not all bad things are criminal, okay? Not all bad things are crimes. You can think somebody did a bad thing, but they didn't commit a crime. Donald Trump committed crimes in New York State, probably committed crimes as far as Georgia's concerned, and he's committed federal crimes as far as the Mar-a-Lago documents case was and the J6 case was. He won't be held accountable for all of that, thankfully, because he's dismissed it. He's everything he can to elude accountability. But those are crimes. If you want to say, I don't like the war in Iraq and that's illegal, illegal as per who? We can talk about the ICJ or the ICC if you want, but that gets obviously way more complicated.
No, that wasn't what my point was. My point was, yeah, wasn't my point. My point was to say that from your view, you're only concerned about process of law.
The law, yes.
Right?
The law, yes.
Not about, hang on. Not about the moral implications of the actual waste, fraud, and abuse that is brought up. Only that the technical process is followed. So it's like, okay, well, what if they're not following your technical process, but they're actually finding waste, fraud, and abuse from a moral implication, that's actually a good thing. And I don't even agree with you that they're breaking any laws. I don't even agree that they're breaking any laws. These challenges are brand new. We have no idea how this is going to play out. You don't, I don't. But we have no idea.
You have a good idea. We can figure it out.
To what the court is going to say. No, we don't have a good idea. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's not. We don't know for sure that Trump is going to just go, oh, I'm just going to Jackson the courts. The court's going to enforce the law. Like, that is speculation that's beyond the pale.
They've already done that. A judge has already issued a ruling saying they've already violated a TRO. So that's already happened to some extent. Now, how far will it go? Who knows? They've already done exactly that. Doge does not have the legal authority to go in and unilaterally
They're giving a legal challenge back, doesn't he?
They have. They
They're
didn't
giving
even
a legal challenge
read
back.
the TRO. Their response was, "Oh, we're going after fraud." And they just laughed. And he said, "This isn't even."
That doesn't mean, wait. So, yes, they are, not only are they going to respond to this, but they're setting up for legal challenges to go back the other direction. This is obvious. And by the way, this is part of the process. Like, I don't know why you just pretend like, these politicians don't expand their offices all the time, and that's what the judicial does, right? It comes in, it'll rein it in, it'll say this is constitutional, it's not constitutional, you can't do this, you can't do this. They do it all the time. There's so much precedent for this, in fact. So if he doesn't adhere to what the judges end up saying, to what these courts actually say, he has no more legal standing to fight it, then you have a leg to stand on. Right now, you don't. Right now, he's acting the best he can in the ability of the office of the President of the United States.
That's, we will see.
So the vote should be just break as many laws as possible then, and then see what happens.
No,
That's
Trump has
the
made it clear he accept the ruling of the judges. If he doesn't, that's not a matter. And look, I want to
That doesn't even follow anyway. Like,
guys,
that
I want to
doesn't
leave.
follow logically.
We're running out of time. I don't want to leave us without without getting to the really contentious story of the week, which is paper straws. Let's watch a clip of Donald Trump talking about straws.
So going back to plastic straws, these things don't work. I've had them many times, and on occasion they break, they explode. If something's hot, they don't last very long, like a matter of minutes, sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation. So we're going back to plastic straws. I think it's okay. And I don't think that plastic's going to affect the shark very much as they're munching their way through the ocean. Okay.
Definitely, can we at least agree that paper straws suck, or rather, you can't suck with a paper straw?
You know what? I'm gonna be like a good conservative, justice type conservative. I'm gonna buy 1,000 paper straws. I'm gonna replace every plastic straw that I see in a store from now on with the worst, the shittiest paper straws that dissolve the second you put them in your fucking soft drink. That's my goal for the next 2 years. That's my way for investing.
And your response to that dramatic statement from Destiny about paper straws?
Well, then I have to at least counter with buying 1,000 plastic straws, right? But anyway, I drank out of these stupid paper straws last time I was in Santa Barbara going to whatever podcast, and they do suck.
They do.
And they do dissolve quickly, and everything tastes like cardboard when you drink through these straws.
Oh, they do.
There's also all sorts of chemicals in them. I'm not even sure that they're safer than plastic.
No.
And there's a lot of data on this too. Like they dissolve the drinks in the mouth. And they have all sorts of chemicals, preservatives in the paper. The baseline plastic is non-reactive. There's all sorts of like little things that you can point out here that is problematic when it comes to paper straws themselves. But ultimately, they just suck. Like if you're gonna replace, what people in California do? They get metal drinking straws, right?
Right.
And then they use the metal drinking straw. They just bring the drinking straw with them.
Yes.
Like maybe that's a good alternative. I don't like the idea necessarily of drinking out of plastic. I don't think that's the greatest idea. But the paper straw thing was always good.
Yeah, I agree. Well, gentlemen, we're going to leave it there. I've got to say, I'm pleasantly surprised by the tenor of our debate today. How have you guys found it?
Oh, you gotta give us different topics. I'm really glad.
You know what? We'll get you back and we'll do it again. I'm not being topic shamed, but I really enjoyed it. So thank you both for doing it. Let's do it again. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks a lot.
Here's what we're saying to be proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, there's only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Here's Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. In return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate, and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you. You don't want to say it because you don't want your woke friends feeling you betrayed them.
No,
And I think the Democrats need to, for want of a better phrase, grow a pair.
I think the only bear that's been growing is by big balls is apparently running our government right now.
We begin tonight with Musk and big balls.
Big balls.
Big balls.
Big balls.
Well, let's talk about big balls then.
I was a teenage boy too. I was a dipshit. This guy's coming straight out of Twitch lobbies.
We have an unelected South African billionaire that Donald Trump has given the keys to the castle. So I'm all for cutting government spending, but it shouldn't be happening from
It's there.
It shouldn't be happening with an unelected
It's
billionaire.
all transparent, and you won't.
It was transparent until we take it off the website, Mercedes. So you guys took it down, and then now you're making it down.
Protect our girls. Protect our girls from boys. There's all of a sudden trying to be what? An extra gender here. Stop it. Do the basic things. Keep America safe.
Taylor Swift, most popular pop star in America, roundly booed. And then the camera turned on Trump and got almost universal cheering. The crowd kind of erupted.
I'm not that surprised by either of those reactions. I mean, part of that Chiefs fatigue is having to see the camera crew pan to, Kelsey's girlfriend. People get too tired of them and their whole thing for a while now.
President Trump is beginning only his fourth week back in the White House, And he already appears to have turned the entire world upside down. The new president was introduced to the crowd last at Super Bowl, as was the self-styled childless cat lady Taylor Swift. But the reaction of fans. As well as winning an admittedly unscientific popularity contest against the biggest pop star on planet Earth, President Trump declared yesterday to be Golf of America Day in honor of the newly renamed Ocean Basin. He also found time to ban paper straws, slammed Meghan Markle, and sent opponents into paroxysms of panic over a teenage cross-cutter with a boastful nickname.
We begin tonight with Musk and Big Balls.
Big balls.
Big boss!
Big Balls, who work for Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, in one case of the Big Balls kid, a literal teenager.
Big balls online, big balls here, that he's talking about. A 19-year-old that goes by the username Big Balls. So that would be one way that we can refer to him.
Young computer wizard, the aforementioned Big Balls. Because who among us doesn't feel better about Big Balls, Big Balls, Big Balls in charge of American air traffic control?
I don't like the idea of a guy 19 called Big Balls around the country. Elon Musk's Doge is certainly unconventional. The crack team of young people with no government experience and pouring over government spending, with the aim of stripping out billions of dollars. Time magazine's among those goading the president over Musk's apparently outsized influence. In his Super Bowl pre-game interview with Fox News' Brett Baer, President Trump reiterated his full support for Musk and the program.
I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific. Elon, you say you trust him. Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can do it with the country. He's so into it. But I told him to do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse.
Well, the president's first month back in office has been a spectacular course correction. It's too early to say whether it will all work, of course. But many of his executive orders are already facing challenges in the courts, even as Democrats in Congress appear toothless. The voters clearly like what they're seeing. Trump's approval ratings are at a record high. A new CBS poll shows a big majority of Americans are describing the words like tough, energetic, focused, and effective. And it might have something to do with decisive actions like this.
All of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
So, big balls are back in the White House and banned from women's sport. What's not to like about that? Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who think there's plenty to dislike about that. Let's find out. With my panel, Sage Steele, host of the Sage Steele Show, Trey Crowder, aka the Liberal Redneck, Mercedes Schlapp, the Trump former senior advisor, host of America Uncancelled on CPAC Now, and Mike Nellis, the former Kamala Harris advisor and white dude for Harris. Well, welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Mike. You must have had a pretty rough few months.
Nope. Right, it is what it is.
Come on, Mike.
I lost an election. I mean, I understand as a conservative on here having a good time being boastful about it, but what I actually care about is getting stuff done to help people. And look, Donald Trump got elected, he promised to get grocery prices down on day one, grocery prices aren't down. So if you're asking me if I'm having a bad time, no, I'm not. I think the American people are having a bad time because Donald Trump made a lot of big promises that he's not meeting right now. He's doing a lot of stuff that, right-wing influencers online love, but he's not doing anything to get grocery prices down, make housing more affordable, help people retire with dignity, and that's what I actually care about.
If he's not doing a good time and the American people don't like it, why has he got record polling of approval?
Well, listen, Donald Trump's going through his honeymoon right now, and that makes sense. I think a lot of Americans are giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's doing some stuff that they like, particularly on the border. But look, when he did his first TV interview after he won the election, he said, I was elected to get grocery prices down, and he hasn't done a single thing on grocery prices. Grocery prices are higher now. He hasn't done a single thing on eggs as the bird flu starts to cause and chicken. It's a bit of a mess. And if you look at that same polling in the time right there, yeah, Donald Trump has you're acting like it's
Right.
But he's got a narrow, positive approval rating right now, which is good. But 2/3 of Americans are saying he's not doing enough to lower grocery prices, and that's what he was elected to do. So he's making a critical mistake, and maybe it's not catching up to him in the first couple of weeks, but it's going to catch up to him as the American people start to elect.
So you've gone from basically calling in Hitler, the Democrats and the eggs in one basket. Eggs.
No, I think what my main commentators make themselves very good
I'm
at.
not right wing. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You and I are not the same thing here.
I'm not a right wing commentator. Dude, I say this respectfully. I'm now reduced to your Trump bashing being around all your eggs in one basket. Eggs.
I think what my main commentators make themselves very good at.
I'm not right wing. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You and I are not the same way here.
I'm not a right wing commentator. I'm not. I literally ran a left wing newspaper in Britain for 10 years. I'm not a right wing, mate. I'm a centrist. I'm a guy that finds.
That's the only person in American politics that ever called out something for Jane Vance. So come on.
But that's not true.
It is. But find it. Find where a major member of the Democratic Party.
Kamala Harris called him a fascist.
Okay. That's not the same as calling him Hitler.
Well, listen, there will be zillions of liberals who called him then. Look, let's move on.
Sure. Yeah. You can listen. You can find anybody commenting in a dumb news article at the bottom, highlight it, and say that everybody's calling him Hitler. But like, come on. That'd be like me saying that
You can't just call me a right wing commentator because I'm not. If you watch my show regularly, you know I'm not a right wing. But what I am is viscerally anti-woke. And what happened at the election was that the country, it turned out, were also viscerally anti-woke. And along with cost of living and immigration, it was the wokery nonsense that actually cost the Democrats everything in the end.
I mean, I think that's revisionist history, though. When you poll people, they'll tell you the number one reason they voted in this election was about the economy. That was the reason that Donald Trump voted. Again, when he did his first TV interview, like he did, like Meet the Press, like right after he got elected, he said, "I was elected to lower grocery prices. I was elected to make housing more affordable. That's what I'm going to do on day one." And it's day what? 30? Day 25, whatever it is. And he hasn't done anything on it. He doesn't even talk about it.
You know what you know what? I admire, honestly, I admire the work you're trying to do here. But it's quite ironic. Trump he found paper schools yesterday. You are touching at massive paper schools right now. Let me get them a shake. You've been smoking your way through this. It seems to me the Democrats are now reduced to eggs. They've pretty much given up in the battle against Hitler, the Nazis, the fascists, and all the other ludicrous slurs that liberals have thrown at Trump for 8 years. It seems to me if the only battleground now is eggs, he's won.
Well, you got to remember, Joe Biden was in office for 4 years. They could not get a handle on inflation. They could not get a handle of the American people feeling the pain of the cost of living. And yes, I mean, I would say to Mike's point, it is a priority for President Trump. This needs to be one of the biggest focuses that you're going to see, especially as Congress puts together their budget reconciliation bill, as they're going to be moving towards tax cuts, as they're going to be moving to lower inflation. As everyone who knows economics, it takes time to lower the inflation, to lower the cost of living. The American people have been leaderless for 4 years under Joe Biden. It's why they rejected Joe Biden, because everything for the Democrats always boiled down to abortion. If they would bring up the economy, it would end up talking about abortion or sex changes for children. And so they failed to connect to the American people. Something that President Trump has done, and as we're seeing in these most recent polls, is that they're showing a president who is focused, energetic, tough, delivering on what he's promising on. I mean, I got to tell you, it's very impressive to watch how much President Trump has been able to do in the past 4 weeks. He's re-engaged with companies. Think about just the recent investment with OpenAI and with SoftBank in terms of a $100 billion investment, Starlink to Stargate here in the United States. He's bringing many more international investments back to the United States. He's engaging with the area of Latin America that was ignored by President Joe Biden, where he's been able to say, listen, we've got these criminal aliens, you gotta take them back. And so when you see these really very, I think, swift actions that we're seeing at the border, where we're able to get these criminal aliens out of the United States back to these countries, it shows that President Trump is working as quickly as he can, because to Mike's point, there is a honeymoon period. moment in time, and he recognizes it. And it's why you're seeing the president moving so quickly on all these priorities, including ensuring that, yes, the focus has to be getting those inflation numbers down. But I'm so glad the Democrats just woke up and said, yes, let's try to do this.
Yeah. Trey,
Can I jump in on that for a second here?
yeah, very quickly, yeah.
It's what's amazing to me is that after the last couple of years where Republicans have been saying how easy it's going to be to get inflation down, and all of a sudden the minute that they control Congress and Donald Trump's in the White House, it's it's a hard thing, we can't get it down, it's terrible, we can't do it. Like this is insane to me. Like Donald Trump repeatedly said on day one, grocery prices were going to go down and they're not. And you want to say I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, but at the end of the day,
I'm sorry, have you seen the oil prices? Gas prices are down.
you're not helping them retire, taking them, get a good paying job, and be able to start a family. And right now, Donald Trump isn't doing that. It's a lot of circus politics.
You're just I'm so sorry, you're wrong on it.
All right, you know what he is doing? You know what he is doing? Because the polls clearly reflect the public approval of this. He's doing a lot of other stuff he said he'd do, and he's doing it very, very quickly. If you bring in Trey Crowder, Trey, what I was struck by yesterday at the Super Bowl, you know, the big piece of Americana. Taylor Swift, most popular pop star in America, roundly booed. Now, partly that's because obviously her boyfriend plays for one of the teams. You'd expect something. It was pretty loud. And then the camera turned on Trump, and you know this had been done 4 years ago, 6 years ago. He'd have been pretty well booed too, as well as some cheering. But he got almost universal cheering. The crowd kind of erupted, and as Elon Musk said, that's a real shift in vibe, shift in mood about Trump. And there's no doubt he is a lot more popular now than I think he's ever been in America. Do you accept that?
Yeah, that's probably true for now, I think, until we see how the policies work out with the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not that surprised by either of those reactions. I mean, it's it's an event where tickets are $5,000 a pop or whatever. So you mean the crowd made up of, senior VPs and dealership owners or Trump fans? I'm not, if he gets that reaction in like a Memphis Grizzlies game or something, I would be a little more taken aback. And yeah, I mean, Taylor, you touched on it. I mean, I'm a huge football fan. I think most of us outside of Kansas City have long since gotten tired of the Chiefs writing all their, referee love affair bundle roosty bullshit and falling bass backwards into wins all year long. And part of that Chiefs fatigue is having to see the camera crew pan to, Kelsey's girlfriend every time he catches another 3-yard button hook or whatever. People just been tired of them and their whole thing for a while now. And I'm not a Philadelphia guy, but the Birds did us a service yesterday, so I appreciate that.
You know, the trouble with if you're Taylor Swift, what do you do, right? If she doesn't go, she's snubbing her boyfriend. The romance is over. His front page news in the tabloids for 3 weeks. If she does go, everyone gets annoyed because she keeps going. Is that you can't?
But come on, they went on a double date, like Mahomes, who I love, Patrick Mahomes and his wife, and Taylor Swift and Travis, like 2 days before the Super Bowl.
No, I wouldn't have done that.
We don't have time to go to a dinner.
I would not have done that. I agree.
Before the Super Bowl.
No, I agree. I thought that was a rare misstep where you're really a hostage to fortune if you do that. You go out having dinner, looking like you're very relaxed and complacent. That's not a good look if you then get hammered.
No.
Let me bring in Sage. I mean, Sage, look, it doesn't mean a lot that Trump got cheered and Taylor got booed, other than what is indisputable since the election result, and the polls all show, is that Trump has unleashed this barrage of executive orders. Many are exactly what he said he'd get done, including banning trans athletes in women's sport, hugely popular, including what he's doing on the border, again, hugely popular. There's a lot of stuff here which I think most Americans are nodding to. They're going, you know what? I historically I might have been a Democrat, but I agree with this stuff, and that's where the Democrats, I think, have to be really careful about what they do next, because if their only shtick is egg prices, they're not going to win back power.
Yeah. I mean, it's been interesting. I think there have been a lot of fair Democrats and liberal political analysts over the last 3 weeks. It's been only 3 weeks, by the way, Mike, since he was inaugurated. So we waited 4 years for something to be done and for some leadership to be shown, and none of that actually happened, which I think was a referendum sent down by voters. To me, as far as last night here in New Orleans, I wasn't surprised either, because at the end of the day, this is a football crowd. But it is also interesting. Yes, people come from around the world. I've been in this city for too long now, 8 days. And the number of people in this very blue city that have come up to me and just said, oh my gosh, thank you, so excited. Donald Trump is making an effort. That, by the way, no sitting president had go to the Army-Navy game, which to me sent a message as well. People just want someone who's going to make an effort, someone who's going to be understandable when they speak and be able to focus on the task at hand, literally and figuratively, and someone who's going to lead. And that is what has not happened in the last 4 years. Every single person I've spoken to, and it's been an honor to be there, to be at the White House last week when they signed that executive order to keep boys out of girls' sports, men out of women's sports, says the Democrats, this isn't necessarily a referendum for Trump. It was just that the Democrats took things too far. And being okay with mutilation of children and not communicating with parents in the state of California when they're talking about potential hormone replacement therapy. All of the things along the way, the Democrats had an opportunity to do better. To bring in the Taylor Swift situation last night again, for the first time, we didn't have to have a bet how many times they even showed Taylor. I think everybody kind of caught on, and that was pre-election as well. Donald Trump, they didn't even show him on the screen when I was at the Sunday night football game with him in Pittsburgh and the New York Jets. I mean, there's been such a big turn. At the end of the day, it comes down to whether it's football or economy or border or boys and girls sports. This shouldn't even be political for most of this stuff. Protect our girls. Protect our girls from boys. I don't know why all of a sudden, over the last few years, there's all of a sudden trying to be what? An extra gender here. Stop it. Do the basic things. Keep America safe, which means containing our borders, not letting millions of illegals, hundreds of thousands of violent criminals across our border. These aren't even political things. These are basic things that we as Americans have a right to.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, Mike Ellis, putting aside partisan party lines, you surely don't still support trans athletes in women's sport, do you?
Well, I actually want to say that I agree with Sage about something real quick, which was the election was not an endorsement of Donald Trump but a referendum on the Democrats. And you asked why Trump's approval rating, his likability are a little bit higher now than it was 8 years ago when he first took over. There's a difference between taking over from a popular incumbent president, Barack Obama, and an unpopular incumbent in Joe Biden. I think what the Democratic Party does need to realize is that we were talking about certain issues, we were advocating for certain issues, is I think off step. Like we're off base with the American people and what they want for border security. We're off base with what people want on a lot of other issues, and we're going to have to evaluate how we talk about them. When it comes to like the trans athlete stuff, I mean, look, it's incredibly popular. It's also an issue that frankly just doesn't affect a lot of people.
What do you think of it?
Hold on just a second, I'm gonna get there. But Charlie Baker said that there were only like 14 total athletes, I think, in NCAA collegiate sports that are even engaging on it. It's the type of issue that like it's getting outsized coverage. I don't think it matters. But like,
Okay,
I want to be talking about things other issues. I'd rather be talking about things that I think
I understand you don't think it's an issue, but if I said to you there are only 14 drug kids, what would you say? Oh, that's fine.
I don't think that's even remotely the same.
Yeah.
I don't think
Hang on.
What I want to
Hang on.
But if you want to be talking about
Let me
those,
explain. Mike, let me explain. The point is, the athletes who took drugs wanted to enhance their performance illegally, wrongly, unfairly, unequally, with, in those cases, illegal substances, drugs. The trans athletes want to have an unfair advantage over biological women because they literally are biologically built differently because they were born as males. And so actually the analogy is correct. You're gaining an unfair, unequal advantage. And everybody, I think, now sees that. What I'm curious about is whether you, as a Democrat, can actually bring it upon yourself now that Trump has banned it, to say, you know what, he's right, it should be banned, or whether you're still in that place of nobody cares.
I mean, truly, like, I don't care. Like, I just think
What do you think?
issue.
Is he right to ban it?
That's the problem.
I don't care. I'll let people who are smarter than me, listen, I'll let people who are smarter than me in the athletic world make those decisions with information that I don't have. It
So
doesn't
you have views about absolutely everything apart from this.
I would think that all the conservatives on this call love to talk about this because they have no plans to lower inflation. They have no
The
plans to lower
only
money.
thing, Mike, the only thing you talked about was abortion.
They want to talk about other
The
stuff because it's easier
entire
to lose
campaign. The
All right, so
only
just to
thing
be
you
clear,
talked about. Mike,
Mike Menace has a view about absolutely everything, right down to the price of eggs. You do not have a view on whether biological males should be in women's sport. I mean, come on.
I don't care. I don't. It's not. It's
No,
not.
it's not that. It's that you don't want to say it. You don't want to say it because you don't want your woke friends feeling you betrayed them.
No,
And I think the Democrats need to, for want of a better phrase, grow a pair and actually stand up for what the American people want. Then you might get rid of
I think the only bear that's been growing is like big balls, who's apparently running our government right now, based on you're
Well,
right.
let's talk about big balls then, because let me bring in Trey on this. On big balls, I thought if Elon Musk has identified some brilliant young geniuses, and Mozart was what, 5 when he was writing some of his masterpieces. Why are we so anxious? Why can't a 19-year-old called Big Balls rampage his way through government overspending? Looks to me already like he's doing a rather good job, Big Balls.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like this is a new idea that teenage boys are like, smart and have their shit together and stuff. I mean, I'm raising 2 teenage boys, and we're letting them like drive the economy. We won't let them drive rental cars. I don't know. I think is this really a controversial take that 19-year-olds don't know shit, especially ones called big balls? I mean, we all see these main lords on the internet. But being like an FBI counterterrorism expert for 20 years and then having to go into an office and have that like office space meeting where you justify your career to, these 2 lackeys, except in this case, they're teenagers, Big Balls and his partner, Quaker Sutherland, 420 or whatever. It's just, I'm not surprised that people kind of get their back up at that. I don't want a teenager, telling me anything. Not the ones in my house, or just anywhere in general. I mean, you call it ageist if you want. I was a teenage boy too. I was a dipshit. This guy's coming straight out of Twitch lobbies.
The trouble is, there are a lot of teenage prodigy geniuses. You see them playing chess. You see them playing. Elon Musk was 10 when he got his first computer code. This idea they're all right. I don't
They're
buy
so
that.
dumb about other things though. Like I graduated college with 4.0. I was smart at some stuff and very dumb at many other things.
Yeah, but Big Balls is very, very good at crunching numbers. What's wrong with him crunching numbers?
Can I jump in here, because I think we're actually missing the point here. Like, I don't really care whether he's 18, 15, or 45, but the government is incredibly wasteful, spends money on a ton of stupid shit that they shouldn't be doing. My problem here is the transparency in the process, right? We have an unelected South African billionaire that Donald Trump has given the keys to the castle. Trump doesn't know what's going on. Hell, yesterday on Twitter, Elon Musk got asked a question by a reporter about cutting NIH funding for cancer research, and Elon Musk had no idea what they were talking about. So my problem is you've got a guy who has a record of paying young people to do his work for him. Elon Musk literally was paying kids to play video games as him so he could seem cool to the gamer community. Now he's paying a bunch of kids to go cut government spending, and he doesn't know what they're cutting. And so the lack of transparency is the issue. I think everybody on this call agrees. Government's very wasteful.
Okay, listen, I'm going to hold you guys there. Okay, listen, I'm going to come back to you and say this for a reaction, but I'm just going to bring in another guest briefly, which is Roe Khan, the California Democrat congressman. Roe, great to have you back on Uncensored. This whole idea, Roe, of Elon Musk and Doge, of his young team of whiz kids led by Big Balls and so on. Some people are laughing at it, some people are outraged, some people are in favour. Where do you sit with it?
Well, look, I said that if Elon wants to help find wasteful spending and do a thorough examination of that, that's fine. I actually took some criticism from my own party for saying that I would be open to looking at what he finds, particularly in the Pentagon, but anywhere. The problem I have with it is that there are rules in our country. There's a constitution. You can't have people unilaterally stopping or pausing treasury payments. And what he should do is, if he finds this absurd examples, come to Congress, expose it, and force us to vote on it.
I mean, look, there's no doubt from the polling around Trump, the majority of Americans are right behind this. They think the government has been way too bloated for way too long, and they quite like the idea of the richest, most successful guy in the history of America cutting his genius swathe through overspending.
Well, the polling is split. I acknowledge that Trump's personal approval and his job approval is over 50%. The numbers aren't quite as good for Musk. I mean, they're falling into the 30s. I once said to Elon, he should stick to cars and Mars. But, I would love to have him find wasteful spending and come to Congress. I think what spooked people is when there was the portal shut for Medicaid for a few hours. I don't want to scare people. No, Medicaid benefits have been cut, or Social Security has been cut. But just the idea that they could do that and that a number of unelected officials could do that spook people around the country, and that is, I think, what has triggered such a backlash for what's happening. In my views, he can still fix it. He should just say, I will respect Congress's power of the purse, and that would reassure a lot of people.
But they don't actually have to do that, do they, legally?
Well, I think they do. Under the Constitution, there's a debate. The conservatives, some of the small group of conservatives say that what Congress's power under Article 1 is simply to set the maximum spending level. But the Impoundment Act says no, what Congress appropriates, the president has to spend. It was litigated under Nixon. What I say to my conservative friends is imagine you had someone from the far left become president. Congress appropriates $900 billion for the Pentagon. This far left president says, no, I'm not going to spend that. I'm only going to spend $200 billion. I mean, give me a break. That would never be constitutional. Obviously, Congress needs to have the authority to spend the money, and the executive branch should go along with it. I think this Supreme Court will affirm that.
Let's turn to the confirmation process. It looks like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard are more likely than not to be confirmed, which means pretty much everyone will have been confirmed apart from Matt Gaetz, who dropped out. I mean, are you surprised at that? Did you expect more of them to fall down?
I am a bit surprised, just because most presidents have a number of cabinet members who don't make it, but I think it is a testament to Donald Trump's complete control over the Republican Party. Look, I was elected to Congress when he was elected in his first term, and Republicans were trying to snicker behind his back and say, this is a fluke, he's not going to last. But to your point, I heard your earlier segment, and this is the most popular he has been, and he certainly has complete control of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think that people like is that Trump is doing a lot of stuff. Now, you may not agree with all of it, but I do think, leaders generally who act and do things that they said they were going to do when they were campaigning, they tend to be pretty popular.
Well, there's no doubt that he knows the politics of theatrics, and I don't say that dismissively. I mean, the visuals of him signing executive orders and the week of doing things and being energetic, I think it was a contrast to President Biden. I think one of our challenges with President Biden is he needed to be out there more, showing the energy. We had a lot of good policies of chips manufacturing coming back, batteries plants coming back, but we didn't show that sense of energy. The thing, though, I think Trump has to be careful about, I was just in Pennsylvania, I talked to someone who voted for him, who would still vote for him, and she said, well, I thought he was going to cut my taxes on overtime pay, I thought he was going to make sure that I didn't have tax on tips. Now, it's only 2 weeks in, I'm not one of those Democrats who's saying, well, the price of eggs are still up, and you give me a break, it's only been for 2 weeks. But if he doesn't focus ultimately on policies that help women like Tracy in Pennsylvania, his numbers are going to fall, and he's going to be judged ultimately around his economic agenda for the working class.
But the Democrats are going to have to find somebody that can lead them out of arguably probably the worst place Democrats have ever found themselves. I mean, the general scale of repudiation is right across the board from all groups of people in America. And at the moment, I'm just seeing very little in the way of a brave new world. Somebody putting their hand up and going, here's what I think we should be doing as a party for the country. Who is that person, and what's that message going to look like?
Well, here's the good news. We've seen that comebacks can happen very, very quickly in modern politics, and that the American people for the last 10 elections seem to be going from one side to the other. I mean, if you had told people after January 6th that Donald Trump was going to be the president, let alone the nominee, they would have snickered. So I do think there's an opportunity with what Trump has done. He has bashed the status quo. He has bashed the establishment of both parties. There is a consensus that the policies of the past 40, 50 years have not been working. The first thing the Democrats have to do is say, we hear you. The status quo was not working. We know people have it rough out there. The trade deals that ship jobs overseas were wrong. Letting China into the World Trade Organization was wrong. The over-financialization of our economy that enriched private equity while seeing hollowed out towns was wrong. Democrats were part of that. Democrats were part of having too much money from billionaires and millionaires, and now we're going to have an economic independence agenda for the working and middle class. And by the way, we're going to focus on that. One thing, you you may disagree with Bernie Sanders, but I will tell you this. Those trans ads would never have worked against Bernie Sanders because everyone knew that Bernie Sanders was going to get, his focus was going to be healthcare and wages. And so part of what the Democrats have to do is our singular focus is going to be America's economic renewal and helping the working and middle class.
Yeah, although actually, if people had asked him directly, what is a man and what is a woman, and he failed to answer, and he supported policies that allowed biological men to compete against women in sport, I think it would have been a big problem for Bernie Sanders to add. So that the answer for me for Democrats going forward is common sense. You know, just do things which are things that most Americans would agree with. Then you got a chance. As long as you're defying them on even things like biology, it's hopeless. Anyway, Ron Garner, always great to have you on our sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the panel. I want to come to Mercedes about Doge, Elon Musk. Are you concerned that these two absolute giants of the political arena right now, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, how long can they go on sort of vying for who's top dog here?
Well, look, I worked with President Trump. I've seen him firsthand how he functions, how he thinks, and I got to tell you something. The one thing that I understand is that he's the top dog. He is the executive in chief. He's the one that's getting the job done. He is the one with the vision, and then he trusts his people to implement his vision. I'll tell you, when we would decide any policy discussions, we would be in a room in the Oval Office with several of the cabinet members, several of his key staff. He would go around, ask everyone their opinion in the room on a certain policy issue, and you'd be surprised. He sometimes would go with, it would be with my opinion or with a cabinet member's position. And the key was to duke it out, debate it in the Oval Office. From there, then move forward with the president being the ultimate decision maker. So I do believe that the key will be the White House maintaining and continuing communication with Doge and Elon Musk, which obviously Doge is right in the old executive office building right attached there. And be able to help maneuver and what they're planning to do with Doge. Look, they've been very successful in unraveling the wasteful spending, which Mike talked about. President Joe Biden and his administration allowed for it. When you're talking about that team that spent $59 million to house illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York, that's that. When you're talking about millions of dollars that were being sent to Guatemala for sex changes and for LGBTQ programs, I mean, it was such an obsession with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and millions of dollars being sent abroad, not pushing forward what you would say is
Did you get home? See you on the thing?
Yeah.
That's what's up there.
Just calm down.
Yeah, no. No, don't worry, I was keeping mine up from the thing.
Fuzz. Have you been a good girl?
Yeah, it's grand.